Book of Daniel, chapter 2. So we saw in the first chapter that King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon took control of Israel, what was left of it, and whoever was noble and good looking, they became captives. So Daniel is of this group, and we saw that three of his buddies were also taken captive. And now in chapter 2, we'll see what else happens. And in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams wherewith his spirit was troubled, and his sleep brake from him. Then the king commanded to call the magicians and the astrologers and the sorcerers and the Chaldeans for to show the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. And the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. So the king's got this dream in his second year. So it's amazing how many commentaries said, that is the fourth year, this is the sixth year. So Daniel was to learn the ways of the Chaldeans for 3 years. So to me, in the second year, Daniel hasn't finished his training yet when King Nebuchadnezzar has his dream. So he's just started his learning, and when his king has his dream. Then spake the Chaldeans to the king in Syriac, O king, live forever. Tell thy servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation. So the whole Old Testament is Hebrew, except for Daniel. So from here through about chapter 7, they're speaking the common language of the Chaldeans at that time. Here it calls it Syriac. These Chaldeans, the king has his dream, but he can't even remember the dream. So he's telling all these wise men in his kingdom to share not only what the interpretation is, but they've got to know what the dream is. We're going to see that go back and forth in verses 5 through 11. The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, The thing is gone from me. If you will not make known unto me the dream with the interpretation thereof, ye shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill. But if you show the dream and the interpretation thereof, ye shall receive of me gifts and rewards and great honor. Therefore show me the dream and the interpretation thereof. They answered again and said, Let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation of it. The king answered and said, I know of a certainty that you would gain the time, because you see the thing is gone from me. But if you will not make known unto me the dream, there is but one decree for you, for you have prepared lying and corrupt words to speak before me, till the time be changed. Therefore tell me the dream, and I shall know that you can show me the interpretation thereof. The Chaldeans answered before the king and said, There is not a man upon the earth that can show the king's matter. Therefore is no king, lord, nor ruler that asks such things of any magician or astrologer or Chaldean. It is a rare thing that the king requires, and there is none other than can show it before the king except the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh. So the kings and his counselors are going back and forth. The king wants to know the dream. Says, if you show me the dream, I'll know that you're telling me the truth about the interpretation. But now you just want to lie and tell me anything, because you see how bad this is going to get for you if you don't come out with the right answer. And they say only the gods can show you what this dream is. So verses 12 through 18. For this cause the king was angry and very furious, and commanded to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. And the decree went forth that the wise men should be slain, and they sought Daniel and his fellows to be slain. That Daniel answered with counsel and wisdom to Arioch the captain of the king's guard, which was gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. He answered and said to Arioch the king's captain, Why is the decree so hasty from the king? Then Arioch made the thing known to Daniel. Then Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would give him time, and that he would show the king the interpretation. Made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, that they would desire mercies of the God of heaven concerning this decree, that Daniel and his fellows should not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. So this to me is confirmation that the second year is when they're in training, because Daniel and his three buddies didn't go in before the king with the rest of the wise men. And so when they're going forth to kill all these guys, they come to see Daniel, and he says, hey, wait a minute, I'll pray, and we'll tell the king the interpretation. So we see the difference between God and his servants versus these servants of other gods. They know that the time's up. They can't count on their God. But Daniel says, no, I can count on my God, and even this thing here, just like he made us fat when we're eating pulse, he's going to reveal his dream to us. So they pray. So Daniel is a prayer warrior, and God answers his prayer. So moving on to verses 19 through 23. Then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision, that Daniel blessed the God of heaven. Daniel answered and said, Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. And he changes the times and the seasons. He removes his kings and sets up kings. He gives wisdom unto the wise and knowledge unto them that know understanding. He reveals the deep and secret things. He knows what is in the darkness, and the light dwells with him. Thank thee and praise thee, O thou God of my fathers, whom hast given me wisdom and might, and hast made known unto me now what we desired of thee. For thou hast made known unto us the king's matter. So Daniel prays. Daniel has this dream. So he's sleeping at night and he sees the same dream that the king saw when he was sleeping. But he remembers the dream. Daniel remembers to praise God. So when God answers your prayers, be thankful. God's the one that gives us what we want. So whether it's knowledge and understanding of this dream, which is going to save his life, whatever it is that you may require, that you desire, God knows he's going to meet your needs just to start with, but he also wants that relationship. He wants us to be in prayer and have this daily relationship with him. So Daniel thanks God for revealing this dream to him. So 24 through 28. Therefore Daniel went into Arioch, whom the king had ordained to destroy the wise men of Babylon. He went and said thus unto him, Destroy not the wise men of Babylon. Bring me in before the king, and I will show unto the king the interpretation. Then Arioch brought in Daniel before the king in haste, and said thus unto him, I have found a man of the captives of Judah that will make known unto the king the interpretation. The king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, Art thou able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen, and the interpretation thereof? Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, The secret which the king has demanded cannot the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, the soothsayers show unto the king. But there is a God in heaven that reveals secrets and makes known to the king Nebuchadnezzar, what shall be in the latter days. Thy dream and the visions upon thy bed are these. So Daniel now explains to the king Nebuchadnezzar why he is able to answer the king's question and nobody else can. It's because of God. So he lays that out first and foremost. So Daniel is a humble man. He knows that anything he got was from God. So verse 29 through 30. As for thee, O king, thy thoughts came into thy mind upon thy bed, which should come to pass hereafter, and he that reveals secrets makes known unto thee what shall come to pass. But as for me, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living, but for their sakes that shall make known the interpretation of the king, and that thou mightest know the thoughts of thy heart. So verse 29, the king's going to learn what's going to come forth hereafter. Is going to make known what's going to come to pass. So this is the same as as Revelation chapter 4:1. John's going to see what's going to come to pass hereafter. It says it like two different times, just like this does. But what will Daniel see? He's going to be shown the future. He's going to see what's going to come hereafter. But it starts right there in King Nebuchadnezzar's day. It doesn't start after the church age or some other time. So God gives us things in our time. So if God revealed something to you today, he would compare it to something that you're familiar with so that you can understand what's going to happen sometime out yonder. So now he goes on with the dream, verse 31 through 36. Thou, O king, sawest and behold a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon the feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them in pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. So Daniel has the same dream as King Nebuchadnezzar, and he tells him exactly what it was. This was part one of the king's request. Tell me the dream, and the interpretation. So we've seen the dream, and fortunately in Daniel, we get the interpretation with these dreams. We're not left to speculate as to what they are. So starting with verse 37 through 40. Thou, O King, art a King of kings, for the God of heaven has given thee a kingdom, power, strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of heaven has he given into thy hand, has made them ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold, and after thee shall rise another kingdom inferior to thee, and the third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, forasmuch as the iron breaks in pieces and subdues all things, and as iron that breaks all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. So we've got the four kingdoms which have come and gone in history. We've got King Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonian kingdom. We've got the kingdoms of the Medes and the Persians is next. Then we've got the kingdom of Greece, and the fourth kingdom is the kingdom of Rome. That is all history. So if you look on this chart, we see in Daniel chapter 2, we see Babylon as the head of gold, the Medes and the Persians, that's the breast and arms, the Greece is the brass thighs, and then we have Rome, so that which we've seen from there down. That is all history. That took place from roughly 600 BC 600 BC up till the time of Jesus, so zero. And now we're going to see a future part of that dream interpreted. So verses 41 through 45. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it the strength of iron, forasmuch as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly brittle. Whereas thou saw the iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in the days of those kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom, which shall never be destroyed. The kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Forasmuch thou sawest that a stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and had broken pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, and the silver, and the gold, the great God has made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure. So when you get something from God, it's a sure thing. So now we're looking at the future part of the Roman Empire. So the feet and toes. So it's got 2 feet and 10 toes. This is divided kingdom. So we had the Roman Empire was started in Rome, but it eventually split to where the western part was headquartered in Rome, and the eastern part was headquartered in Constantinople in Turkey. So hopefully you'll be able to edit that and get that out right. So it's a divided kingdom. The eastern leg was in Turkey, and the western leg was in Italy. And then there's going to be 10 other nations. These are the 10 toes. So presumably 5 of them will be around Italy, and 5 of them will be around Turkey. In the days of those kings, then God's going to come. Jesus is going to return to the earth and set up his kingdom. So it's no longer going to be left to Gentiles to rule over the whole earth or the nation of Israel, but God is going to rule over everything. So to finish out the chapter then, 46 to the end, then the king Nebuchadnezzar fell upon his face and worshipped Daniel, and commanded that they should offer an oblation and sweet odors unto him. The king answered unto Daniel and said, Of a truth it is that your God is God of gods, and a Lord of kings, and a revealer of secrets, saying thou couldst reveal this secret. Then the king made Daniel a great man, and gave him many gifts, and made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon, and chief of the governors over all the wise men of Babylon. Then Daniel requested of the king, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon. But Daniel sat in the gate of the king. So a year and a half into training, or in his second year, Daniel is promoted because he's able to show the king what he wants to know. So this is kind of a rash king. He's ready to kill anybody that can't do what he wants, but he's also ready to promote these novices because of what they were able to do. So that ends chapter 2. We'll go into chapter 3 next, and we'll see Daniel's comprised of visions And we're going to go into all those different visions of Daniel. So we've got one where these, instead of the statue, we're going to see these nations described as beasts. We saw Ezekiel and the four horsemen. We got conquerors, also described as wild beasts. Well, that's what these are. We see the beasts specifically mentioned in these visions. So kingdoms are ignorant of God, even though they come to do God's will a lot of times. God destroys them because they don't turn to God.